Hi boys and girls. Today I'm drawing some insects, and I hope you can tell from my drawing that today I'm drawing a butterfly. And like all insects, butterflies have special characteristics that makes them different from other animals. The first thing you'll notice is that insects can have wings. They can have up to 2 sets of wings. You'll see this butterfly has a set on the top and another set on the bottom. The other special thing about insects is they have 3 parts to their body. They have a head like you and I do. They have a middle section called the thorax, but they also have a third part called an abdomen. And if you could see underneath my drawing of my butterfly, you would see not 2 legs, not 4 legs. I know, they have 6 legs underneath. And the last special thing about insects and my butterfly are these 2 things coming out of their head. It's called an antenna. They have 2 of them, and their antenna help them do something that you use your nose for. That's right. Insects use their antennae to smell. Pretty special, huh? Today, I have a book to share with you called Butterfly Boy by Virginia Kroll. It's about a young boy named Emilio and his grandfather, whom he calls Abuelo, and what they learn about Today I have a book called Butterfly Boy by Virginia Kroll to share with you. It's about Emilio and his grandfather, whom he calls Abuelo, and what they learn about red admiral butterflies. Butterfly Boy by Virginia Kroll and illustrated by Gerardo Suzan. Emilio wheeled Abuelo, his grandfather, out into the sunshine, down the ramp that Papa had built. "Wait for me here and I'll get a book," Emilio said, darting back inside. Mama and Papa said that Abuelo didn't understand words anymore, but Emilio was sure he saw a gleam in Abuelo's eyes whenever he read to him. He came back outside and pulled up a lawn chair next to Abuelo. Suddenly, Abuelo struggled to speak. He pointed with his good hand. "Abuelo, what?" Emilio asked. He followed Abuelo's eyes. 5 crimson, brown, and white butterflies fluttered around the garage wall. They lit, fanned their wings, flitted about, and landed anew. "Butterflies," Emilio said. He watched Abuelo's face while Abuelo watched the butterflies. Emilio knew that Abuelo was smiling inside, even though his mouth could no longer show it. Every sunny afternoon, Emilio wheeled Abuelo out. Together, they watched the butterflies. After a while, Emilio got within inches of them. They let him stay near as if they knew he would not harm them. Emilio's next-door neighbor, Mrs. Salazar, never called him by his name after that. She called him Butterfly Boy. When autumn came, the butterflies disappeared. Leaves of gold and brown and crimson fluttered in their place. When the weather grew colder, Emilio wheeled Abuelo to the window instead, and he watched swirling snowflakes turn the world white, and hungry sparrows gobbled the toast crust that Emilio tossed to them each morning. One day, Emilio came home from the library and yelled, "Abuelo, look at this!" He opened a book about butterflies. Remember our butterflies? They're called red admirals, and listen to this. They're attracted to bright white surfaces. They like to sun on them. That's why they're always on the garage, Abuelo, because it's white. They're hibernating now, but they'll be back in the spring, and we can watch them again. Emilio saw Abuelo's eyes glisten as he stared at the pictures of the red admirals. Spring blossomed, and Emilio told Abuelo, "Not much longer." One sweltering, almost summer afternoon, Emilio gazed out the window during math class. His eyes opened wide with wonder. Two red admirals fluttered through the playground and over the fence toward Mrs. Crew's petunias across the street. Emilio squirmed like a caterpillar until the dismissal bell. He raced all the way home. "Abuelo," he panted, "guess what?" He was going to tell him about the butterflies, but Abuelo began making sounds in his throat. "What, Abuelo?" Emilio asked. Abuelo pointed with his good hand. Emilio swallowed his words in a gasp. The garage was blue. Papa was painting it to match the house, which he had finished in the fall. Emilio sped Abuelo down the ramp. "Papa," he cried, "you can't!" Papa's head jerked up. "Can't what?" His voice was sharp. "Paint the garage blue. They won't come back, Papa. They only like bright white surfaces. Can't you change it back?" Emilio pleaded. Papa took off his cap and wiped his brow. "Change it back? After painting all day?" Emilio saw frown lines on Papa's forehead as he replaced his cap and dipped his brush back into the can. He also saw the clouds in Abuelo's eyes. Emilio's shoulders slumped. He watched 5 red admirals flitting here and there, turning circles. They reminded Emilio of wilting leaves tossed in wild directions by autumn winds. Mama's laundry flapped gently on the line. Emilio watched as if he were in a trance. All at once, he leaped up. 2 clothespins sprang apart and flew to the ground as Emilio grabbed his bright white shirt and scrambled to put it on. Then he stood, stiff and silent as a statue. A minute passed, 15 minutes, 20. One red admiral fluttered close, closer. It landed like a whisper on Emilio's shoulder. Soon, There was one on his other shoulder and another on his chest. Mama came out to collect the laundry. She stood, gaping, as the basket tumbled from her hands. Papa finished his last blue stroke. He took his cap off and wiped his brow. Mrs. Salazar peered over her fence, clucking her tongue and shaking her head and wearing her broadest smile. Incredible! Unbelievable, Butterfly Boy. Papa was startled. "What?" he said. Then he understood. Emilio heard Papa call to Mama. "I'll be home in 20 minutes. "Where are you going?" Mama asked. Papa looked at Emilio and Abuelo as he answered Mama's question. "To the hardware store for a few gallons of white paint. The garage needs painting again." "Save some for my fence," Mrs. Salazar called. "It's about time I painted it too." And that's the story of The Butterfly Boy by Virginia Kroll. Okay, boys and girls, I hope you have your pencil and paper ready. And we're going to start with the center part of the butterfly's body, and I call that the thorax. So we're going to make kind of an oval shape in the middle of the page. And this is the part of the body that the wings are connected to. So we're going to make one set of upper wings, can come out, come back down, and then cut in like this. And then we're going to do the same thing onto the other side. And then we will add a second set of wings onto the lower half of his body. And you can make this kind of fancy. And it's going to come back up. And now we have to do the same thing to the other side. Okay, so now we have two sets of wings on our butterfly. What we're going to do right now is you can add another shape here, like a half a circle on the upper set of wings. And you could make another design like this on the lower set of wings. While we're still working on the wings, we're going to make some U-shapes along the side like this. And we're going to do it onto the other side. And lastly, we can add some down to the lower part. The next thing we're going to do is to add on the lower part of his body. It's going to be kind of like a long tube, and then we're going to make some lines across it like this. The last part is we will make a head for our butterfly. Okay, now these fancy decorations you've made onto the side, we're going to draw lines to the inside like this. And then you can make one set of lines back like this. And then we'll do the same thing on the bottom. And then you can continue these lines up and to the inside like this. Now we're going to go back to the head, and we're going to put two really big eyes in his head. And do you remember? He has an antenna on that side of his head and an antenna on that side of his head. And the last piece we're going to do is add two more little shapes in the bottom of his wings. When it comes time to color, you can color this part of his head black, and then add color to the rest of your drawing, and there you have a butterfly. The last thing I will do after I color my butterfly is to label it. So the most important thing is to write the name of it, and this is a butterfly. And there's a couple parts that I think we can label. Now we remember what these things are called. It's the wing. And two other things that I think we can label. The first are these, then you have two of them also. And it's an eye. We can draw an arrow down to there. And the other thing that insects have that we don't is the antenna. And remember, animals like butterflies use the antenna to smell. And there you have it, our butterfly showing its eye and antenna and the wing.